This can bring peace, joy, and confidence into your life. This is geared for women on their own for the first time at over 50. I'm Michele Thill with Newland Wellness. And today I want to share a powerful quote from Wayne Dyer that I have applied to my life and saw what a game changer it was. This quote is, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. It is such a powerful affirmation, such a powerful direction of energy when it's applied. So again, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. So right now, you're on your own for the first time maybe ever, or for the first time at this time in your life. You might even be a woman who is alone due to the death of a partner, or you might be feeling alone for the first time, or on your own for the first time, as a mom with an empty nest now. And we're figuring out this phase and stage and chapter of our lives. And what I love about this quote, which is going to wrap up, if you will, my little mini course on the Karen Noe book, We Consciousness. And she actually talks about Wayne Dyer in this book and interviews two of his daughters in this book, We Consciousness. And I shared with you in one of the other broadcasts recent about loving ourselves more and the advantages of it, and how self-love isn't selfish. See, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. It's a necessity. What if you looked at it that way? Excuse me for a second. Let me try to silence my computer here. The emails are popping up. What if you started to look at self-love as a necessity and not being selfish or narcissistic or vain or whatever you might look at it as, but instead you saw the advantages of it. So I did a couple of broadcasts ago where there were 12 advantages to self-love that Karen shared in this book, and I broke it down into 6 of them so that you could take it in and apply it and notice for yourself the differences. When you change the way you look at yourself and how you feel about yourself, everything starts to change. You start coming from a place of more kindness and compassion, and you start stepping up for yourself and setting healthy boundaries and taking care of you. And that's what this stage of life, I feel, is about, or at least one of the areas, is us now realizing we need to take care of ourselves after we took care of everybody else. The partner that's gone, maybe the parents that are now gone, the kids that are grown and out of the nest, and now you look and go, what about me? And I'm going to ask you, what about you? Do you see your best days behind you? Or do you see that the second half can be the best half? Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. I'm inviting you to see it as the best half. Because now, what will you do with this stage and phase of your life. It's all in your hands, and that may seem scary or that may seem empowering. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. So I want to encourage you to start taking care of you. That's self-love. Because I really believe when you take care of you, everything else starts falling into place. What do I mean by that? You know, take the quadrants of life. We have relationships, we have finances, we have health, and we have our purpose in life, if you will. So look, for example, if we break down finances, how does loving ourselves create better finances? Well, think about this. When you love yourself more, you stand up for yourself more. So maybe at the job you're at, you stop overdoing. And you start standing up for yourself, and you maybe ask for that raise that you're long overdue, and you just, keep giving and giving and you're not getting. So you start standing up for yourself that way, and you have that talk, that uncomfortable talk with your boss, who does see the value in you. And now you see the value in you, and you're asking for something more. Or maybe it's time to switch jobs or career. Or maybe it's time to start looking at what is life maybe calling for me to do. Is there something I could be doing on the side that could bring in more money? Some sort of business that I could venture into. Another thing is, you start taking care of you in the way where you're not living beyond your means and overspending. You're being more conscious, because you realize the more you're aware of the money you're bringing in and the money that's going out, the stress levels that can be involved with that. And since you're taking care of you, you're managing your stress more. So maybe you don't need that Starbucks every day. Maybe you could eat in more. Maybe you could find ways to pay attention to where your money's going out, so that you have more for you. And what you really could spend your funds on that would benefit you. I'm a big believer in investing in ourselves with self-development, personal growth, that it's not for us to do alone, but for us to do with others. And so I do invest in myself through avenues and people that are helping me become that better version and understand things more. And some of the other things, like that Starbucks or that coffee every day, I don't mean to call out Starbucks, but that luxury of that coffee every day that I'm buying for myself, for example, maybe that isn't really a priority anymore. And I just bring my coffee, which I do, to work every day. So there's how your finances can change when you love yourself more. Relationships, gosh, how does that change when you love yourself more? Your relationships with others? Well, think about this. When you're feeling better about you, and you're tapping into your joy, and you're more centered and balanced and more peaceful and less anxious and triggered by things and angry and all of that, gosh, aren't you more enjoyable to be around? Don't you want to be around that person, right? So your relationships blossom, be it your kids, and if you do have a partner, or relatives, or friends, or even strangers. You know, sometimes you're just starting a conversation and you find you're being the light in somebody's day. You might not even realize that they just needed your smile to make them feel a little brighter. So think about how when you're taking care of you, that radiates out and it benefits everyone because you're a happier, more peaceful, more joyful, more confident version of yourself. And also you start noticing and you start setting healthy boundaries. You start having those deeper conversations, maybe those uncomfortable conversations that once had benefits you and the other person. You know, using our words instead of holding things in, resenting someone or judging someone or avoiding someone, when maybe a conversation and being honest with them and yourself changes the dynamic of that relationship. And also, maybe you start to realize you need to step back from some relationships that you might deem more toxic, if you will, where you realize there really isn't a benefit and there's nothing you can say or do that will benefit you. I've had to step away from some relationships, or because I am loving myself more and coming from that more balanced, centered, more positive place, some of the people that I associated with where we would be judging people, gossiping, you know, things like that, right? Can you relate? They start falling away because that dynamic has changed and you don't choose to go down that path anymore. You start to understand that people are doing the best that they can given their model of the world. That comes from Neil Donald Walsh. He's also quoted in this book as well too. People, what if you came to realize people are doing the best that they can given their model of the world? How could that be a game changer and bring you more peace? You know, I like how Neil talks about forgiveness. You know, he just is not a big fan of that word. I feel myself it's a loaded concept because if I need to forgive somebody, I'm so much better than them and they're down here and wrong and I'm up here and right, right? What if I just understood we're all doing the best that we can given our model of the world, and our model, if you will, might stink. Their model might stink. You know, the collective our model, their model might not be the best model, and they're just not self-aware enough to realize and connect with that. That doesn't mean you're giving somebody a break or that is somebody that's doing you wrong, you should just smile and let them walk all over you. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is you give yourself the peace when you realize that forgiveness or understanding frees you. It's not that you're forgetting, but it frees you from constantly being caught in that story that's weighing you down. It may not be affecting them at all, but it's affecting you. So understanding / if you like the word forgiving, can free you of that and help your relationships. The next area is health. How does loving yourself create better health? Oh my gosh, think about it. When you love yourself, you start taking care of you. You start getting that rest. You start getting the sleep you need. You start managing your stress through deep breathing or maybe meditating, walking out in nature, putting a smile on your face. You start fueling your body with healthier choices so that you're functioning at a more optimum level, getting rid of the processed foods and the sugars, and even in some cases, gluten and dairy. For me, those were game changers. Now, you may look and say, oh, that's so limiting. Oh my God, that's so disciplined. Oh my goodness, I can't live without all the goodies. Well, when you start to connect that your body doesn't appreciate any of those things, that it's your mind triggering you and your body is better off without it, and you start noticing, how do I feel when I'm eating healthier? How do I feel when I'm not eating as healthy? And you see for yourself. I've helped brain fog, that's disappeared. I've helped energy, vitality. I don't get sick as often. There's so many benefits to eating healthier that it's not limiting to watch what I'm eating. It's freeing. And I'm inviting you to give it a try and notice, how does it feel when I'm eating healthier? How does it feel when I'm not? And see for yourself. The last area is your purpose. So think about this. When you're loving yourself, you're not giving up on yourself. You're not thinking, my best days are behind me. Now I'm just kind of out to pasture, right? And, you know, my kids are grown. I'm on my own. Life is unfair. I didn't expect to be on my own at this stage of life. Instead, you start to see a bigger picture. Well, what does this stage of life mean for me now? And what am I going to make of it? And how do I make it the best half of my life? And that doesn't take away from the first half. Your first half might have been phenomenal. And it can continue to be even more phenomenal because now maybe you're being of service in some way. You're lighting up somebody's life. Maybe it's you're finding joy and you're finding fun in your day. And that makes you then a role model for all those around you to strive for that as well, because they see how you're benefiting from it. Instead of you falling apart, you start coming together. Getting old doesn't have to suck. We're all getting older, but we don't have to feel old. We don't have to act old. You know, it's a privilege and an honor. Not everybody is going to get old. Think of the alternative, and we don't have to fall apart. We can now take this time, and that kind of keys back into health as well too, of taking care of ourselves, moving more, doing all sorts of things that benefit us. And then you start to think, what's next? You know, gosh, what did I want to be when I was a little kid, when I grew up? You know, maybe you start getting into photography, or you start taking up dance again, or you get into yoga, or maybe you get a certification in something, or maybe you take a hobby and turn it into some sort of job. There are so many things you could do that can benefit you and benefit everyone around us. So that's why I truly believe when you take care of you, everything else falls into place. Your life becomes more balanced, and you feel better, and you find that inner peace and inner joy, and you bring out your confidence and you shine. I want to leave you with one last thing. I know I've been going for a while here, but I want to give you a tool that can help you do this. And it's called the loving kindness meditation. Now, usually it's done where you say the following verses. First, about yourself. Second, about someone you love. So say your kids. And then third, about someone that you're having a hard time with. And it's opens your heart and brings in more compassion. I've done that. It's fabulous. Doing it for yourself, then focusing on a loved one, then focusing on someone you're having a hard time with, to open up your heart to that person so that you feel free. I've also done it where I've just focused on me with this. And that has helped me tap more in to an inner love, because I start feeling what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you these 4 verses here that you can, and what's great is if you're watching it on replay, you can always just stop, pause it, and grab something to write with and write it out. And this actually came, this version of it, from Mary Morrissey. And the first one is may I truly be happy. Second, may I live in peace. Oh, isn't that funny? How this, I put up my hand for a second and it's the peace sign. I'm just a little hippy dippy. Third, may I live in love. 4, may I live in the recognition that my life has deep meaning and great purpose. And you just repeat that. I did it for like 2 minutes. I set the timer on my phone. I know we don't have time, but we have 2 minutes, and it's for us. Do this every day for 2 minutes. I did it first thing in the morning to start out my day. And I did it for a month. So I encourage you, do that and notice how you start shifting about yourself. Because you do want to truly be happy, and you realize you're worth it. You do want to live in peace, and you realize you can. You do want to live in love, self-love, and love, just that universal divine love. I'm not talking about romantic love, but the universal divine love out there. And you do want to connect with that power of forgiveness, or as Neil Donald Walsh would say, understanding, because you realize ultimately it frees you. Because we can't change what's happened, but we can stop reliving it, retelling the story, feeling those feelings. We can free ourselves. And then you want to live in that recognition, and you start to realize that your life does have purpose and great meaning. If you like what you hear, if I resonate with you, please like, follow, subscribe, and please share this with somebody you may know and love who you feel could use this boost of information today. And I will be back with you again. I thank you for spending some time with me. And until next time, be well.